Sanye Joda Zoge Chonam La Chanchu Bardo Dane Kyapsu Che Dage Jinso Kebe Sonam Dola Benjir Sanye Dubara Sho Sanye Joda Zoge Chonam La Chanchu Bardo Dane Kyapsu Che Dage Jinso Kebe Sonam Ge Dola Benjir Sanye Dubara Sho Sanye Joda Zoge Chonam La Chanchu Bardo Dane Kyapsu Nage Jinso Gebe Sonam Ge Drola Benjir Sanye Drubare Sho. I go for refuge and am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge and am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge and am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha. By my accumulations of practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Om ye dharma hetu prabhavam hetum tesham dathagato yavatat tesham chayo nirodha evam bhati mahashramanaye svaha. Om ye dharma hetu prabhavam hetum tesham dathagato hyavatat tesham chayo nirodha evam bhati mahash svaha. Om ye dharma hetu prabhavam hetum tesham dathagato hyavatat tesham chayo nirodha evam bhati mahashramanaye svaha. Okay, I'm glad that during the group discussions when I was going around, I sense that most of the groups they're discussing about the inappropriate attention, and this is so important. That with the identifying inappropriate attention, we see that our mind exaggerates things. For example, let's say the inappropriate attention, how it exaggerates things and makes our mind very disturbed. Let me give you some examples. One, let's say that if somebody like who's in 20s or 30s tells you something very nasty, something very bad to you, you feel offended very easily. How many agree with me, Rosans? You feel offended when somebody who's like in 20 plus says something bad to you, saying that you're stupid, then you feel offended. Just imagine the same word if the 3 years old child or 4 years old child says you stupid. You will not feel offended. What do you feel? Well, you will not feel offended. You will feel what? Amused. You'll feel amused. It's cute. You know, a little boy, a little girl who can hardly walk, saying you stupid is so, amusing. So it'll not offend you, it'll make you feel laugh because it's amusing. It's the same word. But why, when somebody elder said it, instantly then you exaggerate the attributes of this person so nasty, we exaggerate things. Oftentimes our problems, anger, attachment, these things are mainly because of the exaggerations. For some anger, say if you don't know the person so well, then person instantly you judge. You judge on that basis and you feel disturbed or then always be very suspicious. This is because of our exaggerating the quality of the other person. Sometimes initially we meet the person. When we met the person, we see that the person looks so aggressive, so bad. When you meet the person more often, when you come to realize that the person is so nice, so good, So this is our, say, not seeing the reality, our mind exaggerates things. So this is one thing. And the okay, so exaggeration, how our mind exaggerates things. Let us the do one experiment, if possible. Try to do this experiment in a real life. How we can see things in relative terms, not as so good, so bad, and so forth, because that our mental agitation, we go into stress, anxiety, and so forth, based on exaggerating the qualities of things. Um, okay, usually one thing, I'm sure that you have your own life experience. Say that you have a neighbor, and the neighbor throws garbage next to your door, and you feel so angry, and then they say you wish that your neighbor leaves the place. And finally, if the neighbor leaves, what will you feel? You're happy, not happy? Very happy that your neighbor leaves. And this room, this house is going to be occupied by somebody else, right? Maybe Sharmija is a very complicated neighbor. So the room will be occupied by somebody else. And the next person not only throws garbage next to your door, also plays a very loud music on Sunday mornings where you are actually resting, and you don't, then you will miss your earlier neighbor. I miss my earlier neighbor. He does not play. He let us sleep very sound sleep on Sundays. Now this neighbor look is so nasty, so bad, throwing garbage and also playing loud music, not being sensible to other people. Okay, so you miss the earlier neighbor. So earlier, when the earlier neighbor was there, you feel very angry. Now you miss the neighbor because you are seeing the relativity. It's not an absolute bad or absolute good. The first neighbor is okay, not good in throwing garbage next to your door, but at the same time, good in making you have a sound sleep on Sundays, not playing loud music. They're so good. So the point is that we always try to see things in relative terms that will make our mind much more stress. And usually when I meet with the mother and the children, the mothers, they will always always have some complaint with their children, saying that this my son is like this, he's not getting job. I said that your son, is he drinking? She said, no, no, no. Enjoy, rejoice, feel the joy, feel happy that your son is not drinking. It's amazing. Many people, their sons, they're drinking, they're fighting with the parents, extracting money from the parents. You should really praise your child. You should really rejoice that your child is not drinking. And that's amazing. So we always, if you learn how to see things in relative terms, then we see that your mind is calm and peaceful. Your mind is calm. What's the benefit? Your immunity is boosted. When immunity is boosted, what happens? Your body will be very strong, and it can easily fight against diseases and so forth. Your health will be much better. Okay. Having said this, on the one experiment that we all can do, all of us can do this experiment. Just try to keep like three containers. Three containers. The first container, keep like water with 4 degrees centigrade. 4 degrees centigrade water is cold or hot? Huh? Very cold. And then the next 20 degrees centigrade water, hot, cold, warm. Then let's say 40 degrees centigrade, very hot, right? Okay, keep three containers. Just try to do this experiment. And this is known as seeing is believing. So first you put your left hand in the 40 degrees centigrade water. What happens? What if it feels so cold? The next hand you put in the 40 degrees centigrade. Right hand in the 40 degrees centigrade container. What do you feel? Very hot. Now the two hands both put in the second container, which is 20 degrees centigrade. Left hand will say it's very warm, and right hand will say it's very cold. You're getting it? It's the same water, same person, but the two hand sensations is very different. This is how our mind interprets. Object is same, but once is very cold, once is very hot. There's very different interpretations. So therefore, when we look at people, interact with people, you become angry or so forth, we are oftentimes exaggerating. It is your mind. Just learn, before you judge on others, observe your mind, how my mind is behaving. This is so important. When you see that is your problem with your mind, then your mind will calm down, will not judge on others, your anger will subside. But let us be very practical. So, for example, for a mother, if the child is going to, the drinks, okay, maybe it's my exaggeration. No, you have to take appropriate measure to stop the bad habit of your children, your family members, and so forth. At the same time, no reason for us to be angry. So these afflictions should be stopped. Anger, attachment, jealousy, and so forth, they should be stopped. Meanwhile, take appropriate measure to curb the situation outside. This is very important for us. Okay, this experiment, I would highly recommend all of us doing this experiment. Okay, next let's turn to page 142, page 142, and in the small booklet, where's the page? We are on verse number 5. What is the page number on the small booklet? 79. Okay, 79 indicates the small booklet. And for the blaze, the red one, the blaze is on page 142. Verse number 5. It says, when due to friendship. Okay, this already be read. 6 also be read. Okay, 6. When relying on someone, your negativity is diminished. Going with a good companion, the Buddha taught, always go with good companions. If not, better to go on your own rather than go with bad companions. Let's not forget this. This is so important. Even for, say, my age, I'm already 58. Still, from me, we have to go with good companions, not with bad companions. Even if you are, it doesn't mean that only the young ones. Young ones, of course, they can easily be influenced by the bad companions. Even the elders, we have to always go with good companions. You can learn a lot. You can grow so fast. And we have rebirth. It's not only this life. Rebirth, take this good imprints from this life, being with good people. And in the next life, as early as a young child, say, the great teacher, Geshe Narupa, when he was just like age 3 or 4, whenever he he was a prince. Geshe Narupa, he was a prince. And whenever he was playing with other small children, the children of the ministers, whenever he was playing there, either he was making some sand castles, they sand stupas, or he would sit like this and he would make all the other children sit like students and he was giving teachings. Everything to do with Dharma as a little boy. So, for Geshe Thome Sambo, at the age of like 4, 5, 6, he demonstrated so much compassion. How come that these great teachers, at their early age, they would demonstrate so much of compassion and wisdom? Because of their practice in the former lives. So in our case also, you, me, each one of us, in this life, if we practice well, study well, what are the 3 wisdoms? Wisdom done through learning, wisdom done through reflection, wisdom done through meditation. So with the 3 wisdoms in this life, instead of wasting our life, if we make sure that we grow in these 3 wisdoms, next life, as a little girl or as a little boy, just age 4, 5, 6, 7, you will see that you will demonstrate all these qualities. And you can identify who are the bad friends and who are the good friends. You will abandon bad friends, you go with good friends. Meanwhile, you keep growing in your happiness, in your wisdom. This whole purpose. So then you can inspire as many other people. For example, like say the one who started this. Okay, Sangela and Sonamla, do you have the question? Do you have? Okay. So the let's say that the one who started this, Sona Rinpoche, he amazing vision. He is a great Rinpoche of a great vision. Amazing. He worked so hard for the Dharma. So likewise, we could also be born, for example, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, having a vision for the whole world, creating a world, a better world, where the religious harmony should happen, where the world, all the leaders should come together rather than fighting, come together, have dialogue, embrace each other. So this is the vision of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. No wars. So likewise, each one of us, why not? We put effort in this life. Study well. Wisdom draws through studying. Wisdom draws through reflection. Wisdom draws through meditation. But these and in the future lifetimes, guaranteed your life will be gate, para samgate, bodhiswa. What's the meaning of that? In English, a loose translation is go, go. Gate means go in Sanskrit. Go, go. Go beyond. Go, go. Go beyond. Go utterly beyond. Establish your full awakening. In Tibetan, songshik, parul du songshik, parul du yangdabo songshik, changchub ki shit sukshik. Go, go, go beyond, go utterly beyond, and establish your full awakening. So our mind is an incredible treasure. Now let us identify, with the help of this text should serve as a mirror for us to see what's wrong within our mind. So you read this and see to our own mind, observe your mind to see where we are going wrong. So where we go wrong, it makes us unhappy. It makes us stressful, sad. And we fix these problems. Then your true nature, the gold, the mud removed, then the gold starts to glow more and more. You become happier person. Okay, so with this mind, let us read I'm reading verse number 6. When relying upon someone, your negativities diminish. By being with good people, your negativities diminish. And your positive qualities grow like a waxing moon. So the moon, say, the first day, second day, third day, 10th day, 14th, then the waxing moon increases in size. Your virtues grow. To cherish such a spiritual friend more than your own life is the practice of bodhisattva. In fact, many people say that, for example, I think Menuji, are you there? Yes. Menuji, yesterday she asked a question. I know many of these things intellectually, but in practical terms, I find it so difficult. So for this, one thing is we require good role models. We need good role models, people who actually practice these. For example, like say, which we find so difficult in a real life to practice. And for example, if you spend some time with Ajay, then you will see that, oh, this is doable. I can do that. It's not just intellectual knowledge. I can implement it. So likewise, the Cholakandela, amazing inspiration. You'll feel that I can actually do this. It's not just theory. We can do that. Say so all along from the Itanagar to here, the Lobsangla, Mr. Lobsangla, extremely kind. He was driving us all the way from there and managing all our food, stay, everything, and he was doing everything. And at the same time, he was making our journey extremely comfortable. Look, these are the implementations. Whereas some people just driving will complain all the time. Just driving. And then what about our stay? No, this is not my job. But Lobsang is very different. So there we can see the real Dharma in action. So therefore, to be with good companions, this is so precious. In fact, Leo Tolstoy. I'm very impressed by what he said. Leo Tolstoy. He said that I don't want to listen to your I don't want to listen to your religious doctrine. I don't want to listen to your religious doctrine. I want to see your religion in your action. This is amazing. Very powerful statement. I don't want to listen to your discourse on religion. I want to see your religion in your action. If I see that in your action, I, I respect your religion. If I don't see this in action, you are very angry, short-tempered, selfish, and harming others, destroying others. This religion is destructive religion. It's not a good religion. A religion where you embrace others, you actually show them. Don't just say that my religion embraces all everything embraced. No, you have to embrace it. If you don't embrace this, it's an embarrassment. You're embarrassing your religion. So this is so important. But his mind, number 7, themselves captives in the prison of samsara. Now, what constitutes a bad companion? Bad companion, not only say a bad companion in the form of the people, even in the form of what you believe in. What you believe in something, and that makes you to become more and more unhappy. And for one time, there was one gentleman in Singapore, and he told me that he's into one religious cult. He's into one religious cult. And he said that he started with a very pure mind. And this religious cult was encouraging them, the followers, to recite a mantra. Recite the mantra, and for what? It's for just so I will get more wealth. I'll get more wealth. I will accomplish my dream like this. And he said that after reciting this for some time, he felt very uneasy. It's all about very selfish motives. For me, for me, for me, for me all the time. He became very disturbed. So these things, even though it takes the name religion, it can be very destructive to make you very selfish, and then destroy it makes you to fight with other people, and then it makes you to go into religious fundamentalism. So these are very destructive. These are something to stay away from. It says 7, themselves captives in the prison of samsara. So those people, or those any religious figures where you go there and then these will make you more miserable. They themselves are samsari beings. They are not free from samsara. Themselves captives in the prison of samsara, whom can the worldly gods protect? Therefore, to seek refuge in the true jewels, the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Buddha is the best of the doctors, Dhamma is the best of the medicines, and Sangha is the best of the nurse. This says, if you take refuge, this will not betray you, will take you to full awakening of your potential. Therefore, to seek refuge in the true jewels, who do not betray you, is the practice of a bodhisattva. The next, okay. Okay. To go beyond this, first I like to discuss what is known as the 3 kinds of suffering. What we the sufferings we go through. There are 3 kinds of suffering. What are they? Anyone? 3 kinds of suffering. 3 kinds of suffering. Anyone? 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 3 kinds of Dungye Riksum Anla Yue. Dungye Sum Yue. Dungye Sum. 3 kinds of suffering. Jihad you have? Yes, Jihad. Jihad.
Suffering, and pervasive suffering.
Okay, good. 75% correct. Huh? Dungye Sum? Yes. Tenzin? Yes, tell me. Yes, Anla. Yes. Yeah, Anla Ida. Dungye Sum gar, Dungye Sum. Yue, Anla Yue. Dungye Sum.
Suffering of truth and suffering of suffering.
Doge Nishingue. In Tibetan? Okay, 벽에 넣으신 거예요. 벽에 넣는. Okay, three kinds of suffering. Okay, okay, here 상계라. 된달라.
English, I don't know, but Tibetan me gurbi dunge, dunge ki dunge, gurbi dunge, kyaba duje ki dunge.
Oh, the first one is dungel dungel, which is suffering and suffering. Dungel dungel. Second one is
Gurbi dunge,
guru dungen,
gurbi dunge,
suffering change. Third one is
kyaba duje ki dunge.
kyapa duje dungel, or just simply put duje dungel or kyapa duje dungel is known as pervasive conditioned suffering. Kyapa duje dungel. Okay, let me say this once more. Three kinds of suffering. Suffering, change, pervasive conditioned suffering. Pervasive, Pervasive, pervasive conditioned suffering. Suffering, change, pervasive conditioned suffering. Dunge, then second is gyuru dunge, third one is kyapa duje ki dungel. Okay, now let me see. Okay, and is there anybody who likes to share with us what does it mean by suffering of suffering? What does it mean by suffering of suffering? Anyone suffering of suffering? Anyone suffering? No one. Okay, no one. No one. Okay, don't point a finger. Point to yourself. Don't point to anybody. Point to yourself. Raise hands. Point to yourself. How many of you know there's suffering? Raise hands. How many of you know that? Suffering. How many of you know what is suffering? Okay, Tushar. What is suffering? Okay. Okay, Mike.
Birth, sickness, aging, and death.
Birth, sickness, aging, and death. I agree with you. Is there anybody who likes to define what suffering is? So these are examples. Very good examples. Thank you. Anyone else who likes to define? David, you like to define? David. Okay, let's all listen. This is so important. If you know these things, yes.
Suffering is also physical pain, mental pain.
What we identify as physical pain or mental pain constitute the suffering. Okay. The Kamalji.
And you suffer more from the event. So it's like the second arrow.
Not the first one.
The first arrow hurt you, and that is suffering. And then you repeat it to yourself mentally, and you exaggerate the pain, and that is suffering from the suffering.
Not the first one. First one is not suffering.
The first one is suffering.
Okay. Anybody who likes to explain? Sharmilaji will explain what is suffering. What does it mean by suffering? Sharmilaji. Raise your hand, Sharmilaji. Mike. Sharmilaji. This is very important. Then the verses which you're going to read will make more sense for us. Yes.
Geshila, the kind of suffering which we all can realize very easily, it's manifest. That is suffering of suffering.
Perfect. Thank you. Any suffering, what Sharmil is saying is that what others, Tushar, what David, what Kamalji are saying, they're all examples of suffering, but they're not the meaning of the suffering, not the suffering. They're not the meanings of they're not the meaning of suffering. The meaning of suffering is what Shamilji has said. A suffering which anybody can easily identify as suffering is known as suffering of suffering. A suffering which anybody can easily identify as suffering is suffering of suffering. For example, like, okay, eating cheesecake. How many of you say it is suffering? Oh, no, it's not suffering, it's joy. Presents? Eating cheesecake. Is it joy? Presents? Cheesecake or chocolate cake is joy. When you smile, this means it's joy. I know. And some of you are smiling, chocolate cake. When I say chocolate cake, instantly the smile comes to your mind, goes to your face, which means that you find there is joy. So the say the joy of eating chocolate cake is not considered as suffering by the ordinary people. It's not identified as suffering easily. Whereas headache, what Tushar said, sickness, aging, death, they're easily identified as suffering by anybody. Even the animals see them. For example, the mother dog, they sees that the death of the puppy, and the owner goes to bury the puppy's body, the mother will go there to undug it. Doesn't like to see the puppy dug under the earth. So these are the pains if the animals feel. In other words, any suffering which anybody can easily identify as suffering is known as suffering of suffering. This is the first one. Okay, second one. What is the second one? Anyone? Suffering of change. Can you give an example? Suffering of change. What do you understand by suffering of change? Anyone? Okay. As a Tenzin Younger. This younger is saying a comfortable or the pleasures, joy. These are known as the suffering of change. That's very good. Amazing. Okay. Is there anybody who likes to explain what makes Tenzin Younger say that the joy, the mundane joy is considered as suffering of change? When you say suffering of change, number one, it should be suffering. Number two, you should explain what change. First, you have to understand what is suffering. How is the mundane happiness suffering? Anyone? Raise hands. How is mundane happiness suffering? Okay, here, this is Pegila.
Kinani tanda di asa comfortable asa and the suffering of change la parilegi ni tanda nga shini momo sagi ani tanda tanga la kibu singiri ani ni dogo la mangtawa ina tisila kali chigiro ti ani
So what Anitinji Pegila is saying, suffering change is the metaphor that she likes to give is enjoy momos. How many like to enjoy momos? Raise hands. Okay, but you don't like momos. What do you like? Pizza? No. Huh? Comfort food? Like? Pizza? Then? Dal? Wow. Health conscious. Oh, that's amazing. Okay, so what Tinsi is saying is that, say we all crazy after momos. You eat momo, and then if you overeat, then you have discomfort. So that is suffering of change. How many agree with Tinsi Pegila sense? Okay, so that discomfort after overeating, that discomfort is a suffering change. Huh? That discomfort that you get after overeating is suffering change or suffering? Huh? Suffering, resents. Discomfort that you get is suffering. Okay. Discomfort that you get overeating the momos is suffering change, resents? Okay. Abhinay says it's suffering change. It's not suffering? And they cannot be both. These are mutually exclusive, right? Okay. Now the things speaking of which is suffering change? The discomfort that you feel after overeating, or huh? Okay, anyone? Okay, David.
When you're eating the momos is suffering of change, and when you feel bad afterwards is suffering of suffering.
So David is saying, when you're enjoying this momo, that itself is suffering change. Then when you feel discomfort over having overeaten, and then that is suffering. It's not suffering change. A suffering change, in other words, in simple terms, if somebody were to ask you what is suffering change, it means any mundane happiness. Any mundane happiness is suffering change. Any mundane happiness, suffering change. Any mundane happiness is suffering change. Okay, the next. How is mundane happiness suffering in the first place? Anyone? How is mundane happiness suffering? Raise hands. Okay, Kabirji.
Geshe, mundane happiness is suffering because it's a bait that traps us in samsara.
Okay. Kabirji is saying that the mundane happiness is suffering because it serves as a bait to trap us in samsara. Okay. Churagandela, what is bait in Mungke? You can explain it if there's no specific word.
Bait, monkey, bait, the thing. Nyadi sang dingo, nyadi shock in Nyasho machine at on teacher, cap the cap teacher, Gondi chipia, the thing at on more grandma potuina. It's a Nyajiki, Gonji Doya be, Gondoya be, Nyai Gon Karasaje, Nata Nyaji Pupia, Ejiko singing Lex here, Songa Regimeda. Each injis a bait in a bait. Each king at on Lega the other in the poop to me. Nyaji Pupia, Topje, or the big Zuache, Nyatopje needs some carriage, Nya Leche Telangaya, Zongo to Injiga bait in them. Each Lega the the poop to me. Piche atan piche radijiko eche ninjula di tong topchela di tong eche gaya karzoya tatang je bina senga tapya puplang de pupya beche senga tapuje beit nyoche tochina
Tochena. Okay. How was no? Unless how was no? Bait. Oh. So when you say bait should have two qualities. One, it should be very delicious. If it's not delicious, then the fish will not come. And then number two, it will catch you. So two things. One is, it should be delicious. So therefore, this mundane happiness is delicious, is good. At the same time, you are trapped. The hook traps. This is what Kabirji said. Kabirji said, say bait to trap us in samsara. So therefore happiness, not the discomfort. Discomfort is the suffering, not suffering change. Very good. Okay, what is number 3? Pervasive condition suffering. Okay, is there anybody who would like to explain this to us? Pervasive condition suffering. Anyone? This is very technical. If you understand this, then you understand this and experience this, you are quite an elevated person in your spiritual journey. You are quite advanced in your spiritual journey. Anybody who likes to explain pervasive condition suffering? Okay, Kamalji. Kamalji, Mike.
Suffering over which you have no freedom or control. You gave the example of the dream of His Holiness and not having the ability to control that.
So, say lack of control. Lack of very good, very good. Can we give some examples, Kabirji?
Yes, I was going to say it's the suffering where you're under the sway of contaminated karmas and ignorance and afflictions.
Amazing. Okay, what Kabirji is saying is that we are under the influence and dictate or under the influence of a bad master. Say, a bad master, meaning that a bad boss, very cruel boss, under the influence of contaminated karmas and afflictions. So, the pervasive condition suffering, the first we need to know what is pervasive? Number two, conditioned, and then suffering. Okay, say we are under the control of karmas, contaminant karmas, and afflictions, and particularly self-grasping ignorance. We are under the influence of these. As long as we are under these three, we will never have freedom. Okay, it is like, say, and you are working under a boss. You are working under the boss, and the boss has his own boss, higher boss, the main boss. And the main boss seems to be so nice to you, saying, Manjariji, you're not happy, come, let's go for a cup of tea. So you feel so comfortable. And your boss, immediate boss, seems to be so rude, cruel. Every morning, why you are late? Why you are late by 1 minute? Every morning harassing you. But your main boss looks so nice. One day you happen to pass by the main boss's office, and the main boss was yelling at somebody in the office. You hear it. And who was that person? Your boss, your immediate boss. And the main boss was scolding your boss that you are being so lenient to Manjariji. You are being so lenient to you. You should be more tough, strong, strength. And you are shocked. My main boss looks so nice to me, but actually my boss is cruel because of the main boss. Now you see that main boss is the mastermind of your boss being unkind to you. Mastermind. Okay. And the truth, I don't know how many years ago. I think about like 15 or 14. Maybe Taraji can tell us about like 13, 14 years ago when the Kasab, the Taj Mahal, Mumbai,
2008.
2008. And then he was killed, assassinated which year? Kasab.
His execution was in 2012 or 13.
Okay, let's say 2013 he was executed, and tonight he was executed, and the next day when I was reading the newspaper, in the newspaper it said that people are dancing on the street for the execution of Kasab, the young boy who was just about 20 years old, 21 years old. He was executed by the government, and then people are dancing on the street. Whereas in the government, the main people who are actually responsible in checking the terrorism and so forth, are they happy that Kasab is gone? They're not happy because Kasab is nothing but the mastermind is still hiding. When the mastermind is hiding, one Kasab dies, but this mastermind can produce hundreds of Kasabs. More Kasabs can be created. For ordinary people, they dance. They think that this is the end of the terrorism. No, mastermind is behind there. The real people who are smart, they will still go to hunt the mastermind. So you're getting it? So therefore, suffering, pervasive suffering and suffering change. They are like the Kasab. The mastermind is the pervasive conditioned suffering. Contaminant karmas, afflictions, and ignorance. These are the masterminds for us to continue to suffer in samsara. So therefore, if you are under the mastermind of a terrorism, are you happy or not happy? You're not happy. This is suffering because we are under the mastermind of all the sufferings. That is the worst of the suffering. That is, therefore we call the pervasive conditioned suffering as suffering. Now why it is known as conditioned? Conditioned means that we are a puppet. We are conditioned by these and the contaminant karmas, afflictions and ignorance. We are conditioned by these. Conditioned meaning we become the puppet of this. If you are a puppet, are you happy or not happy? We are not happy if you are a puppet of somebody. So we become the puppet of the pervasive conditioned sufferings. So therefore conditioned meaning making other two sufferings as puppet. We are made puppet of the pervasive conditioned suffering. So why pervasive? Why that they being under the sway, being under the control of the contaminant comes afflictions, ignorance is known as pervasive. Why? This is a very important question. But what does it mean by pervasive? Chulakandela in pervasive in Nunge.
Pervasive capsuch. That of the Gishla said that the pervasive condition suffering yochi, kappa tujiki dunga yochi, Madam Kamsum number, Turkam, Sukam, Sumekam, Yata Pichina Jorme. Kamsumga Dunga Capujil Tenya, is Kappa yochi, Yonloga Capsuji. Kamsumga Nul Tenya, is Mian Kappa Yos Tome. Duji Yos Tawang, Ijil Tenya, Dunga Janmanage. The thing Dunga Dunga, Gurwe Dunga Nega, Gapkat, Dunga Ratakan, Momach, the Kappa Duji Dunga Yos Dunga Tendach. 동해냥 동해 탓한다지 캡부 두지기 동해ኛ오지야 이제 감숨가가 캡부를 떼냐지 캡부 두지기 동해ኛ야 즉 동해냥 동해 텐다지 동해냥 동해 탓가 띠선다 탓된다 동해냥 캡부야는 캡 된다 이제 동해 지직 라고서 겸전지 지가당 마릭바이 뭐지 지가당 레니 겸제사야 나당 라와모노 콜바네가 깨고서지 나당시 라와모노 내 금대가 내 독자사고 되냐데 거러버냐 독자가 깨고 소지 상모 있는 때는 아주 캡어두지기 동에 기실라도 나옴 터치.
Thank you, Chiragandela. Thank you so much. Okay, now the pervasive. Why this suffering is known as pervasive? This is very important. Okay, whole samsara is divided into three groups: desire realm, form realm, and formless realm. Whole samsara is divided into two groups. Desire realm is dukam. Then the form realm, sukham. Then the formless realm, sukmekam. Whole samsara is divided into three groups: desire realm, form realm, and formless realm. Three groups. Now, the first suffering is not pervasive because it exists only in desire realm, not in the form and formless. It's not there. Suffering. Next, suffering change. Suffering change is not pervasive because it exists only in desire realm and the first three of the four form realms. Form realm, middle one, is split into four divisions. Of the four, the suffering exists in the first three, not in the fourth. And formless, there's no suffering change in the formless. So suffering change exists where? Only in desire realm and the first three divisions of the form realm. How many divisions are there in form realm? 4. Of the 4, where do you find the suffering change? First 3, not the fourth one. So therefore, and the formless, the suffering change exists, not exists. In the formless, no, it doesn't exist. So suffering change exists only in the desire realm and first three of the 4 form realms. Not in the fourth form realm, not in the formless realm. So therefore, it is not pervasive. Finally, the pervasive condition suffering exists in all three realms: desire realm, form realm, so therefore it is known as pervasive. Got it? Good. Okay, let me say this once more. Okay, why the third suffering is known as pervasive? It is known as pervasive condition suffering. Why is the third suffering known as pervasive? Because pervasive meaning pervade all samsara. And samsara is divided into 3. What are they? Form realm. Desire realm, form realm, formless realm. Very good. 3. And of the 3, the first suffering. What's the first suffering? Suffering. Suffering exists where? Only in the desire realm. It is not pervasive because it exists only in the desire realm. Very good. Suffering of change. Where does it exist? Desire realm, Sneha, desire realm. First three divisions of the form realm. And where is it missing? Fourth form realm and formless realm. So therefore, suffering, and suffering change, these two are not pervasive. Now, the pervasive condition suffering exists where? In all three realms. So therefore, it's known as pervasive. You got it? How many got it? Minimum 80% you understood it, raise hands. Good. Good. Okay. Now, we know what the three kinds of suffering are. And then the Acharya Dharmagirti, Lubin Shotak, Acharya Dharmagirti, 7th century AD, what he said in his text, Pramana Vartika, text Pramana Vartika, Samanamdil, in Pramana Vartika, what is said is that when the Buddha taught the truth of suffering is to be identified, the Buddha meant pervasive conditioned suffering, not the first two. First two are very easy. Only if you understand the third suffering, then you understand. Then you can go to the level of actual understanding of renunciation. So third suffering. Let me repeat it. What Acharya Dharmagirti said in Pramana Vartika, where he said, when the Buddha taught the truth of suffering is to be identified, the Buddha meant the pervasive conditioned suffering, which means that we have to identify the third suffering. Simply by understanding the first and second will not suffice. You will understand the truth of the suffering. To understand truth of suffering, you have to understand the third one. This is so important. Okay. In a way, we already learned it yesterday. When we said yesterday, we talked about the dream. Very pleasant dream, picnicking. Second, very scary dream with earthquake. Third dream, third part. What is the third one? Waking up. Waking up. Of the three, which of the three did you choose? Dodo Ondele. The Dodo Ondele chose third. And how many agree with Dodo Ondele? Third one. Yes. Why not the first one? Okay, now I expect all of you have the correct answer. Why not the first one? First one is very pleasant dream. Why did you not choose the first one? Anyone? Anyone? That'd be nice. Why not the first dream? First dream is very good. Okay, Abhinay is saying that even though the first dream is very pleasant, but I don't have the control. I don't have the freedom to choose this dream. How many agree with Abhinay presents? So therefore, dream. One problem with the dream is that we don't have the control. We don't have the freedom to choose the dream. How many agree with this presents? So the Buddha said everything is like dream. Everything is like dream. Because everything is like dream, we don't have the freedom. Now what should we do? If you want the freedom, what should you do? Hey, wake up. You're getting it? So the Buddha taught how to wake up from the sleep of ignorance. So being in the dream itself is a problem. Being in the dream itself is pervasive conditioned suffering. Let me repeat it. Being in the dream itself is pervasive condition. You have lost your freedom. That is the pervasive condition. That happens in all the three realms. That happens in all the three realms. When we say being in the dream, it just doesn't mean that you are falling into your dreaming. This is just metaphor. In the dream of ignorance, when you are in the dream of ignorance, that's a problem. So that itself is the pervasive condition suffering. Only if you know that, okay, I'm in a dream of ignorance, this is the cause of all the miseries, then you've understood the Buddha's teachings. Very good. Okay, so now, having understood this, reading the following verses, it should make sense, better sense to us. Okay, first, verse number 8. Verse number 8, page number 142, the blaze, and page 77 or 78. 82 for the small booklet. Verse number 8. The suffering of the lower realms. Suffering of lower realms meaning suffering. So difficult to bear is what the Buddha taught to be the fruit of negative actions. Okay, so suffering of lower realms. For example, like people eat the non-veg food. Lucky that this time there's no the non-veg food is vegetarian, all vegetarian, because where is Angela? Okay, so Sangila is there. She will make sure that the food is all vegetarian. Okay, so what I'm saying is that in fact, one time there was many years ago, 2009. How many years ago? 16 years ago. About 16 years ago, I had the pain on my left, the ribs. Later on, it's not the ribs, actually it's the lungs. I had the pain for 3 days. And the doctor asked me to go for a medical checkup in Delhi. So I went there in Apollo Hospital. And after checking it, they took the biopsy from my lungs. Taking the biopsy was extremely painful. They did their best to minimize the pain, but the pain was so acute. With the local anesthesia, still the pain was so acute. Then the nurse who was sitting with me, I told her, "Are you vegetarian?" She said, "No." Then I told her, she's a Tibetan nurse. I told her, would you become vegetarian? Look, the pain that I go through, it's not cutting, it's not slitting, it's not killing me. It's just an injection, needle with this to just take a sample. Still, it's so painful with the local anesthesia and these poor chickens in the KFC on no anesthesia, and it's not the needle slitting the throat. It's so painful. So I said that it is totally unfair on our part to just kill this animal with so much of pain just for our 5 minutes of taste to our tongue. It's extremely unjust, very unfair. I told her, if you want to become vegetarian, and she said yes, and she was vegetarian. So what I'm saying is that, look, these are the pains that, so we create pain on these poor chickens, animals. And next life we take birth as chickens and poor animals, and they will kill us. And if we can't bear even the needle, how can you bear somebody killing you? This is so painful. So therefore, if you don't want the pain yourself, don't create pains on others. This is a message. So it was the time, at the time of the Buddha, that there was one Arahat, and many say it was Shariputra. Shariputra, what he did was that he was going for alms round. Alms round meaning going for his lunch to ask for food. Then one family, he noticed a young lady holding her newborn baby and eating a fish and beating a dog, because the home dog, was expecting the fish, and beating the dog to shoo the dog away. And this Arhat, Shariputra, he was witnessing this, and he said in Tibetan, "Pasha sashing maladung, rangi dao pandu kul, tete kuwe ngansula tena kyo ningne ke," which in English translation, eating the flesh of your father, beating your mother, cutting your enemy. This is the nature of samsara. How exhausting, how painful it is to see. This is what Arhat said. Because he has clairvoyance. Sherpa, he has clairvoyance. Through the clairvoyance, he could see what are the previous reincarnations of each of these. And say, this young lady, who was once a little girl with so much given affection by the father and mother, and there was a neighbor, very complicated neighbor. They were always fighting with the neighbor, for small things. They're always fighting with neighbor. And the little girl was always seeing the father and mother fighting with the neighbor. Neighbor died, the father died, the mother died. And the father died, and the father took birth as a fish. Now this girl is eating the fish, who was actually her own father, who was so loving to her. And the mother died and took birth as a dog, and was just right there at the house dog, and was beating the dog, beating the mother, and cutting the child. The enemy died, and neighbor enemy died, took birth as this little child, and she was cuddling with so much love and affection. This is samsara. So we never know where we take birth. We eat the flesh of somebody else, you die, and you take birth like that, and the person will again eat you up. So this is whole samsara. So therefore, if you don't want to suffer, the Buddha taught, don't create suffering, the pains on others. Okay, so it says, number 8, the suffering of the lower realms, so difficult to bear, is what the Buddha taught to be the fruit of negative actions, negative karmas. Therefore, even in the course of life, never to commit negative actions, negative karma, is the practice of a bodhisattva. So it's so important for us to know, remember these stories, on that basis, that try our best in our life not to create pains on others. If possible, try to, become vegetarian, if possible. Try to stay away from eating meat and so forth. Actually, when I was younger, meaning I was in school, when I was like the age, like 14, 15, 16, I was non-veg because I had no choice. Whatever the school gave, I eat that. Then after that, I joined the monastery, and say I till for first 6 years in IBD. Again, I did not have any choice. Whatever food given you to eat. Then I went to Damdul monastery. There it was my choice because I was cooking my own food. So therefore, whatever food is, whenever I got the chance, I'm always vegetarian. Then coming back, the meeting with my relatives, they see me so weak. They said, Dorji, no, you should keep healthy. You don't be vegetarian. So I feel, and physically I was so weak. And then I again turned to non-veg. Again I go back to monastery. Again I have the freedom. Again I go to vegetarian. Then since 2004, pure vegetarian. How many years now? 21 years. 21 years pure vegetarian. So what I'm saying is that just see if there's a possibility. Now, I am not aggressive, the vegetarian promoter. I'm not aggressive. I don't say, no, those people who eat meat, they're so bad. No. We should be very realistic. So some people, physically, they're so weak. They had to depend on meat. That's a different story. So some people, they tell me that, Geshe, through your talk, I became pure vegetarian. I really can congratulate. And some days, Geshe, I cannot be vegetarian, but I stopped buying meat from outside. I stopped preparing meat food in my house, but I do eat meat outside. There's also again at least a person has taken a step. This is so precious. I rejoice. And some people say, "Oh, I stopped eating the chicken or fish because chicken, fish, they're easy to be killed, and the animals, if they cannot provide you food, they provide you meat, then they will not say wait for 5 minutes. They will say, no, we run out of the meat. We don't have it. You come tomorrow. Whereas for the chicken, you'll say, wait for 5 minutes. Then it will be killed just for you. So therefore, the small animals, some say that I stop eating the chicken and fish. This again, I truly appreciate. And some people, they say that on the sacred days, on the holy days, I practice vegetarianism. For example, like Sagadawa, the whole 1 month, I'm vegetarian. Some people say that. That's also great. And some people say that, no, Geshe, I cannot be vegetarian at all. But I truly rejoice in others who are vegetarian. Even that is amazing. So in fact, I personally would say that anybody, just through your own personal initiative, whatever step that you can take, whatever level, of the step that you can take. If you take it, that is something to be appreciated. Okay. So verse number 8. The suffering of lower realms, so difficult to bear, is what the Buddha taught to be the fruit of negative karmas. Therefore, even the cost of your life, never commit negative actions as a practice of Bodhisattva. So this is the suffering of suffering. Next, verse 9 is suffering change. Suffering change. Happiness in the true realms, like dew on a blade of grass, is so instantaneous, is so momentary, so brief. Happiness that we get, for example, like a delicious meal, it's just about 5 to 10 minutes, finish, and then it becomes a memory. Happiness in three realms, like a dew on a blade of grass, is subject to instantaneous fading away. To strive for a supreme state of liberation that never wavers. Once you attain nirvana, once you attain the treasure inside, unveiled, that is for ultimate. Whereas the mundane happiness, they're so temporary. Whereas the happiness due to your Buddha nature, awakening Buddha nature is so reliable, it'll be there 24/7. To strive for that supreme state of liberation, which is nirvana and Buddhahood, that never wavers, is the practice for Bodhisattva. Wavers meaning that never shakes, it never deceives, it's very reliable. That's the practice of Bodhisattva. Okay. The next are the bodhicitta practice. From beginningless time, your mothers, so all the beings that you see around, it's a matter of time. Say one life to the other, they've been your mothers so many times. So beginningless time, your mothers have cherished you. All those who seem to be so unknown to you now, they're actually your mothers. Extremely kind to you in the former lifetimes. From beginningless time, your mothers have cherished you. If they suffer now, what good is your own happiness? Therefore, in order to liberate an infinite number of sentient beings, cultivating bodhicitta is the practice of a bodhisattva. Well, you will stop here at verse number 11. Deyata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgate Bodhisvatyata Om Gati Gati Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisvatyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisvaha. Okay, by the way, for these young nuns, Bait, spelling is B-A-I-T, Bait. Bait. In Tibetan, I don't think there's a particular word, but the word made is Lu-Se. Lu-Se. Se is food. Lu is to deceive, deceiving food. Food to deceive the fish. Lu-Se. Bait, B-A-I-T, bait. Okay, three press together.